Hello and welcome to this Dota 2 guide. I am Defied from Gamers Class, and in this video I will be guiding you through an important mechanic and skill called creep blocking. A good creep block can help to set up your lane and give you an early advantage that you can use to help you win the lane. In this video I'll explain what creep blocking is, why it is important, and how to do it effectively, with some examples for each of the lanes that you can practice to help improve your own skills.
If you like this type of content, go to gamersclass.com. For just $5 a month, get your replays analyzed, join monthly live sessions with pro players, get access to our entire content library, win prizes, and more with our supreme Dota 2 membership.
Alright, so creep blocking is basically the act of slowing down the creep's movement into the lane by blocking them with your hero. This is most common in the mid lane, but it can also be employed in the side lanes as well if needed. The main reason for creep blocking is so that the creeps meet closer to your tower, shifting the creep equilibrium point in your favour. Doing this affects a number of things. First of all, since the creeps are closer to your tower and closer to you, it should be easier for you to get the last hits, as you won't be so easily harassed by the enemy. You are also much more difficult to gank since the safety of the tower is nearby. In contrast though, it forces the enemy to come nearer to your tower, which can put them in a vulnerable position where a teammate can easily gank them from behind. Of course, the enemy is likely to be trying to block their creeps as well, which, if successful, can shift the creep equilibrium closer to their tower, reversing all of the effects I just mentioned. In mid, this can be a pain for a ranged hero as you will be trying to last hit uphill, causing a percentage of your attacks to miss. Standing in the river also puts you in a vulnerable spot for a gank from behind, so be careful if this happens. If you are insanely good at creep blocking, then it is good to know that a creep block can actually be overdone. By blocking a wave too much, you can move the creeps so far back that they are actually in range of your tower. Because the tower does so much damage in the early game, this makes it hard for you to last hit that wave and also quickly kills the enemy creeps, pushing the lane out towards the enemy's tower, so try to avoid doing this if you can. Alright, so we've established that creep blocking is a good thing to do, but how do you actually do it? The trick to blocking creeps is to move along with them, but kind of zigzag back and forth to stop them from getting in front of you. When they try to go around you, you've got to start to move forward and block them so that they can't get past. I find my most effective blocks happen when I repeatedly move and press the stop key, as it sort of forces the creeps to also stop and then try to get past you. There are two main methods of camera control when you creep block. The method I like to use might be the hardest of the two, but I am used to it since the majority of the game is played like this as well. Here, you move your camera manually with your mouse by dragging it or edge panning, although you can make more errors this way as you are moving your mouse a lot more often. The second method is basically to set the camera to follow your hero automatically as you move. That way, all you need to do is concentrate on clicking to move your hero and stay in front of the creeps. To lock the camera to follow mode, you can either double press your select hero button and then hold it down after the second press. You can also double click your hero portrait, which will have the same effect without you needing to hold a button down. Some people prefer this option, but I recommend you just try both ways to see what works best for you. I didn't mention it before, but there are also a few hero abilities which can temporarily block creeps from getting past. The most well-known and effective ones are Earthshaker's Fissure and Clockwork's Cogs. Fissure is very simple to set up and can be used before the creeps even leave the base by blocking off the exit. Clockwork's Cogs, however, are a little bit more difficult, but they can be quite effective too if timed right. Cool, so now you've learnt the theory, but let me show you how to do this for each of the different lanes. For mid lane on the Radiant side, the creeps seem to split apart as they go around the tower, which makes it hard to start a block from here. Because of this, you can start the block from around the tier 2 tower or when the creeps start to form a single line. If your hero is fast enough, you might be able to block from a little bit earlier since you can catch up and get in front of the creep on the other side. The strategy after this is the same as I mentioned before, just zigzag all the way up until you have the creeps meeting in the middle of the river or preferably up on your high ground. For mid on the Dire side, you want to start the block around the bottom of the stairs, right in the middle. Sometimes the spawn of the creeps can be a surprise and you might miss a creep if you start at the top. As the creeps start moving down the lane, step in front of them and start zigzagging and blocking as you normally would. The Radiant safe lane is notorious for being very easy to overblock, as the creeps naturally meet very close to your tower anyway. To block this one though, I would normally start it around the opening into the jungle, but not go too hard as you don't want the enemy creeps to get to your tower. You could also opt to not block the creeps at all until you see the enemy creeps, or if you can't see them near your tower at all, when yours are under the tower. This way you ensure that you are not going to overdo it. So for the Dire safe lane, I find that it is a good idea to block this one a bit more than what you normally would do for the Radiant safe lane. For some reason, the creeps meet a bit further away from your tower than in the Radiant safe lane, and the Radiant team can more easily block their off lane to bring it even further back. I'll usually start blocking this one from roughly just after the tier 2 tower after running back from trying to get the bounty rune. Speaking of the Radiant off lane, since you are often trying to contest for the bounty rune, I find that I block this lane from somewhere between the tier 1 and tier 2 towers. This is the hardest lane for your team though, so try to block it earlier or block it off with a fissure or cogs if you are one of those heroes. And finally, we have the Dire off lane, which I find to be the hardest lane to block because of the stupid zigzag they decide to do after the tier 1 tower. Anyway, after getting the bounty rune, I'll run back to block this one somewhere between the tier 1 and tier 2 tower. After zigzagging for a bit and blocking them in the choke between the tier 1 tower and the trees, the creeps will move across and then back again, so just be aware that this happens. If you can pull this block off effectively, you are going to be sweet. Thanks for watching this one, and I hope you've learned a lot about how to block creeps. Make sure you practice this one, as it is a skill that really improves the more you practice, and for you to get really good you need to practice often. Once again, I'm Defied from Gamers Class, and thanks for watching.